Good morning, Muscatine. It is officially the first day of spring. It actually looks like spring outside a little bit. I mean, it was a little cold over the weekend, but you know, what are you gonna do, right? And I'm not sure how this happened, but the first day of spring is also like National Ravioli Day. So I don't know who's in charge of those national days, but that one seemed like an odd combo to me. Ravioli seems more like a heavy winter food, maybe. I don't know. Hope everybody's brackets are still doing well. Mine's somewhat okay. Wyatt and Melissa's are pretty well busted. Suckers, thank you Purdue. Thank you Arizona. You're helping me out a lot. Appreciate it. And no, we aren't going to talk about Michigan not even being in the tournament. So for all of you that want to throw that comment on there, just go ahead. It's fine. I'll take it. So this morning we have a couple of guests. First, we're going to have Muscatine Rotary here. And then we'll have Alissa Burkamper from Safe Families for Children. So, ladies, you guys have been here before. This is not your first time on the show, I don't believe. Naomi, I believe you were here like last Monday.
Yes, and Megan is here every Monday.
She is, because
yeah.
Mondays are Megan Mondays, for those of you that watch regularly. It doesn't really matter what we could possibly be talking about on a Monday, Megan will be here. It's just how it is, right? I mean, do you have a job? Like,
yes.
You do? Okay.
I do.
Do they know you're here?
Yes.
He does, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's always fun, though. I'll say that.
There we go.
So today, though, you guys are here as Muscatine Rotary, correct? And you guys have a bunch of cool stuff going on. Let's first talk about the continuing Ukraine situation and what you guys were able to do there. This is really neat. And actually, before we go into that, though, if you could just give kind of people a quick overview of what Rotary is, because there's a lot of people I know that, you know, you see the signs, you see all the stuff floating around, like the little Rotary signs. But if you could kind of tell people like what it is, what you guys do, and then we'll talk about some of the really cool stuff specifically.
Okay. Why don't you start with just a general Rotary, and then I'll do the Ukraine stuff.
Perfect. Rotary is a service group, so it's international. We've got our club here in Muscatine. We meet Mondays at noon at the Rendezvous. And we are a service organization, so our goal is service above self, doing good in our community, and then also helping in projects worldwide. And then we also are dedicated to the fight against polio. So we, as a local club, we are committed to inoculating against polio in honor of all of our speakers that come. It's just a practice regularly for us. And then we also continue to stay aware of the situation and support worldwide.
No.
Well, and one of the neat things, if you do want to learn more about Rotary, you can actually go to the Discover Muscatine website, search Rotary, because was it 2 years ago maybe you turned 100? Three?
Just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was just, because it was like, and it was shortly after we started Discover Muscatine, because one of the first things we were able to do is we sat down with a bunch of Rotarians and did some interviews and put together a 100th anniversary retrospective. It's about 10, 15 minutes long, if I remember right. But it actually gives you a really great overview of what Rotary does. Yeah. So recently, though, obviously with everything going on in the Ukraine, that's been on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. And of course, then that means Rotary is going to step up and do something.
That's right.
So what did you guys do?
So Rotary, as Megan mentioned, is an international organization, and there are Rotary clubs in Ukraine and in all over the world. So our club here locally took an immediate interest in trying to understand the situation and how we can help. And so we've had presenters talking about from World Refugee Services, for example, out of the Quad Cities, talking about what's entailed in relocating refugees. We've had actual refugees here who've resettled to Muscatine to try to get to know them and understand what their needs are. And then the Rotary Club has actually committed to helping with the relocation items, like household items of the next family that comes in. And then we're learning about the donations of city vehicles. For example, a couple months ago, I think the city made a commitment to send some ambulances to Ukraine, and then just last week, a fire engine. And we made a commitment to helping with the transportation costs of getting those vehicles there. And so we were connected through a colleague, I think, of Gary Ronsheimer, a donation of $1,750 towards this next shipment of vehicles going over to Ukraine. So the club has been really active. We meet weekly, as Megan said, and so several of those meetings have been dedicated to learning about Ukraine and then actually doing something about that.
That is the great thing. Like, I love the fact that you guys do actually. Go ahead. So you can. Sorry. So, you guys learn about stuff. Like, your Monday meetings are, you always have a speaker. You have somebody educating you guys on what's going on. But then the follow-up to that is there's always some sort of action. You know what I mean? And that's always the biggest part, because you could learn and learn and learn forever, and it doesn't actually affect anything. And, if you go back, especially over the last 100 years, but specifically even the last 5, 10, 15, you can see Rotary's fingerprints on tons of stuff in Muscatine and the surrounding areas. So,
you want to talk about the Y Readers program that we did?
Oh, yeah. So another focus, and every year the governors that we have really look at a focus for that year where we can really put all of our efforts towards. And last year was literacy. So we partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we know that there's a huge need for Big Brothers Big Sisters. So just continuing to spread that word. But we also knew that there was a large list for the waiting list. So we decided to do something for those people, those kids waiting to get their big brother, big sister. And we had a literacy night where we invited anyone from the waiting list. We also had some bigs and littles show up. We provided supper, and then we played some games and read books. We had a donation of books for kids to take some home with them. And just to promote that friendly literacy and the adult mentorship to partner with an organization in our community.
One thing, we all know that like third grade reading is like one of the critical measures of whether a kid's going to be able to get through high school or not, right? And then success beyond that. And that's one thing, from my time at Flickinger, you don't necessarily, until you really dive into it, think about all the things that affect that. And, it's not just about sitting down and reading a book, which is a big part of it, obviously, but it's the adult mentorship, it's the support, it's the positive role models doing that so that it becomes a lifelong habit. And I think that's one thing where, like, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Lindsay, keep up the good work. It kind of begrudges me to say it sometimes, but you're doing great. Those kinds of things. And, like you guys coming in and just being that positive memory, for kids. And it's tied to reading and something like that. So it just builds on everything else going on.
Yeah, and to have it in a comfortable environment, right? If you are struggling with reading, to be stressful in a classroom and feel like you're behind anybody, but sit back at the Y, had couches out, and food is always a great comfort. Yeah. I think it was macaroni and cheese specifically, which is like the perfect comfort food. And just, to have people, adults in our community give you the attention and to have that comfortable environment. It was really a fun night for all of us.
That's awesome. So let's roll over to the poster contest, because this is one of those, and we talk about subjects like this all the time on the show, and this is a cool thing about a not cool thing, right? Like, one of the things that you guys at Rotary, I don't know if focus is the right word, but human trafficking has been on your radar for a long time, right? Yep. And so, and specifically in this area, like not just like the big scale human trafficking, but, the Eastern Iowa kind of situation. And so you guys are now doing a poster contest to help raise the awareness among us. And what I love about this is it's a specific age of kids that are most likely to be targeted, I would assume. Is that kind of where this came from? Yep. So what's the contest all about?
So again, being part of an international organization, really puts some things on the surface for us, and human trafficking is one of those. So our club is represented by Carolyn Levine, and she does regular meetings with the district group to learn about human trafficking. And we've had Secretary Paul Pate as a speaker. He's got the IBAT initiative, Iowa Businesses Against Trafficking, so we wanted to share that information. But this specifically, what we've learned through training is even the words that we use, human trafficking, doesn't necessarily always ring true for teenagers, the most vulnerable group. And so we actually had a testimonial by a survivor who said, I had been trafficked, and I would see information, posters that said human trafficking, and I didn't think it was me. And so, yeah, so her perspective is one that we want to honor with this poster contest, to have the youth maybe come up with terms or visuals that really tell the story. So the story is, are you doing something against your will, right? Is someone making you do something against your will? And that's human trafficking. And so that's kind of the perspective that we're really looking for, to reach the youth with youth language and with youth design. So we've got this poster contest right now. It's open to 16 to 22-year-olds. We want 2 languages represented here to also address the diversity here in Muscatine. And you can email a PDF of that entry to our Rotary website. There's a Gmail, I think, right there.
Yep, and I'm going to throw right now in the comments, I'm going to throw a link to the poster contest so that...
Okay. Yep, and there are top prizes. $300 is the first prize, $200 the second prize, and $100 third prize. And so our hope is that we'll be able to use these designs and create further awareness, like you were saying, Chris, throughout the community and throughout the youth from here on out.
That's awesome. So that's pretty much everything I think they need to know about the contest. I mean, it's like, go get it. Chris, is it making it out? Okay. So the contest is, where will the posters go afterwards? Like, what, because again, this is one of those, making the posters great, and that's some awareness here, but then where all are we going to see these things?
Yep. So our goal is to distribute the winning entries to local businesses and within the community, in schools, of course, through social media. The college and Rotary are co-sponsors, so we will use those vehicles to show the designs and to show the perspectives, I think, of the youth. So we will utilize those entries in the future.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's a lot. You guys been busy.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to touch on real quick?
No,
Megan always has.
I would just like to invite anybody, if you are looking at getting involved in any of these, specific projects, or a service group, looking for that involvement in a service group, to contact us at the Rotary Club of Muscatine, our webpage. We do have a Facebook page, which all this poster contest information is on, so you could message that one. Surprise, it goes to me. And or you can find me at Crossroads or Naomi at the college, and we can get you connected. You're also welcome to come to our meetings at noon at the Rendezvous. Sit in on a meeting, check out who's there, meet a few people, see a speaker, and just see if it's the right environment for you. So we invite anybody who wants to come help us with these messages and what Rotary's about.
Thank you for coming. We'll take a quick break and be back with Alissa. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys. We've been through a lot together. We all know sometimes it gets hard, but it's okay to not feel okay. You know what helps? A good book or going for a walk. Not now, Fred. But what really helps is to talk to someone. Because to take care of each other, you gotta take care of you. If you need to talk to someone, your doctor will listen. Unity Point Health. Know how much you matter to this world.
We just don't work out in a single plane of motion.
I'm always ready. And we're back with Alissa Burkamper from Safe Families for Children. We were actually, during the break, just talking about, I went to school with her older sister, just kind of made that connection. And a funny story, we were sitting in the back of a driver's ed car, and this is back when 2nd Street was a one-way, and the young man driving we were coming up from the riverfront to 2nd Street right there on Walnut by First Night Midwest 1. And this was when 2nd Street went towards the big 2nd Street hill, like towards Hahn. He decided he was going to turn left into oncoming traffic. And I remember Lindsay and I both kind of like looked at each other in the back and were like, oh my God, we're going to die. Luckily we did not, as you can tell. I assume she's still okay. She's still okay.
Right.
So, lovely things about growing up in Muscatine. You hear random stories about your older sister, right?
Who was the teacher? Do you remember?
Mr. White
Okay,
was our car
Okay.
instructor. Yeah, that's
Wow.
way back. We won't go back with how far back that was, but anyway, that's probably not what you're here to talk about today. As a matter of fact, I know it's not what she's here to talk
It's
about.
not.
So you're here for Safe Families for Children, and so if you could just kind of give everybody a little bit of background on what Safe Families is and kind of like your role with them.
Yeah, so Safe Families is a nationwide faith-based initiative that mobilizes volunteers for the most part to wrap around families in communities that are just really struggling. So we all experience our ups and downs, and when we do, we tend to call our parents or a sister or a friend to kind of help us move through those hardships or crises that we have. But we know that there's lots of people in our community that don't have those supports that they can reach out to in times of crisis. So as Safe Families volunteers, we try to fill in those gaps and just be a support for families who are struggling with any number of things, just to try to wrap around them during that time of need, and especially around their children.
Well, and that's one thing that we do unfortunately talk about on the show fairly often is, the need in Muscatine is greater than what is sometimes immediately noticeable, right?
Yeah.
Because, there's also a lot of like quick need where like something happens quickly and all of a sudden a family that was looking pretty good is in a tough spot.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't always know who to call. And there's something to be said for having plenty of different resources in those cases for somebody to feel comfortable reaching out to. And that's one thing that I think you guys kind of help fill that void.
Yeah, and we really are focused on prevention. So like you said, there's families who are just one crisis away from disaster. And so we really want to reach those families and help provide support for them before
DHS is needing to remove the kids from the home, or before an accident happens because 7-year-old brother was watching 2-year-old sister. You know, we want to really get in and help families maybe prevent homelessness by wrapping around them so that they can, find that job that is able to support them to pay their rent. We want to get in there and be a resource before the crisis snowballs into something bigger.
Right, and that's one thing that you'll notice in these situations is like a lot of times it kind of creeps up on people, like, oh, yep, I got it, or yep, I'll be okay at the next paycheck, or, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, boom, it's there. So if you can kind of, in that initial stages, get some intervention and get some help, that's going to make the entire rest of the situation go better. For lack of
Absolutely. And we're really focused on relationships. So there's tons of great agencies and resources in Muscatine and the surrounding areas, and we definitely want to partner with them. What we really find amazing and helpful about Safe Families, and something that's kind of specific to Safe Families, is that we're able to use our volunteers in more of like an extended family type of role, whereas a lot of caseworkers and people who are working for specific agencies aren't able to do those extended family type of things. And so it creates a great partnership where MCSA can provide the funding for a specific need, and then a Safe Families volunteer can wrap around and say, hey, let me help you figure this out, or let me, support you by watching your kiddo while you're able to do that, and really kind of fill in that gap that a lot of families have.
It's like an hands. And, a lot of times that's just what people need. It's just like, well, I need to do this, I need somebody to help. And it's even better if that person can understand the entire situation of what they're going through, and maybe give a little advice, guidance, and nudging, to help make positive decisions, right? So if somebody wanted to be involved and become a volunteer, what does that process look like?
So our volunteers can serve in a number of different ways. One of the main things that Safe Families provides is called hosting. There's a bug right here. We provide hosting, and so that is wrapping around these families who are experiencing crisis and don't have social support by just having their kid or children in a host family's home, either for a couple hours or sometimes even up to a couple weeks, depending on what the situation is. So those volunteers go through a training process. They are background checked. They are fingerprinted. They go through mandatory reporter training, and have some reference checks done just to ensure that we're getting really great volunteers that are able to safely support these families and these kids. So that is one role that people can volunteer in, but we also have others. If you're just a great cheerleader and you like to cheer people on, we've got a role for you just to come alongside maybe a single mom or a single dad and just support them in whatever goals they're working through. We've got people that are really good at just filling out applications and, getting kind of those nitty-gritty checklist type of tasks done, so volunteers can fill that role. But really, if you go to our website, it has all those different volunteer positions on there, and it'll walk you right through exactly what the process is for that.
And we've got it scrolling on the bottom for you as well, and we'll get it in the comments.
Awesome.
So you can just click out and go take a look. So is there anything else major you want to talk about? Because if not, since it's your first visit, we do have a little something for you.
Okay, let's do it.
So it's what's in the box, okay? Have you ever seen what's in the box?
I have not.
Okay, good. So we're going to see how well you were listening earlier. So what we'll do is you'll stick your hands in the box, both hands, and then if you would just kind of push the doors open, right?
Front doors?
Yep, those front doors. Yep, there we go. Okay, now there's something in there. You're going to have to guess what it is. And again, we're going to see how well you were listening.
Wow.
I'll tell you, this is honestly, I shouldn't have done. This is probably one of the worst ones. What is it?
It's ravioli.
It is ravioli. Good job. And right underneath, you got a nice little wet towel because it is ravioli because it is National Ravioli Day. So did you know from listening, or did you? Could you just tell?
I thought it was fruit, honestly, and then when you gave me that hint, I was like, oh yeah, that's got to be ravioli.
It was absolutely ravioli. Well, thanks. Thanks for being a good sport. That wasn't that bad. And feel free to stop in whenever you guys have something you need to talk about. Appreciate it. Appreciate what you guys do in the community. So Muscatine, that's your show for today, and we will see you tomorrow.